First thing I want to do is, you see Mr. Starr here, Mr. Josh Starr. He's one of my second degree black belts. We're just going to be talking about a couple of things. One of the things that I want to ask first, though, ask him first, is what is your favorite thing about martial arts?
I just love punching people.
That's
There's just something where I can legally punch people. And no.
that's not it.
I would say my favorite thing about martial arts is, well, to me, I'll start with this happy answer, is to get to know you. That you're my favorite thing about martial arts. Because you've been my mentor for well over a decade at this point. But in terms of the art itself, I think I've just really learned loving, learning to love how our bodies move and the really cool things we can do. Because there's so many different things that I would have never thought I would have been able to do physically. And sure, I'm not doing flips all over the place, or I'm not doing parkour yet. But just knowing I can handle myself in a situation is comforting, but just also having all that training spill into the other areas of my life. It's really amazing just how our bodies can work, and not just work on our own, but work in tandem with other people.
Right.
And when you do this, I can do this. And it's not always an adversarial thing. We can work together.
Right.
And I think I've just really loved learning how to do that.
That's a good point, actually. I think a lot of people don't. There's a lot of people that don't understand that point. Is that they say some people do martial arts and it looks like a dance, but there's some aspects of martial arts, or to me, one of the foundational aspects is that it's like a dance in interaction with the person, with the other person. Because if this person, it's like what Bruce Lee says. He says, when he expands, I contract. When he contracts, I expand. So that's the idea. He also says it's like a small play, that the idea to move with somebody and not necessarily clashing into them. To me, that's really what martial arts is. The ability to, that's one of the foundational aspects of martial arts, is the ability to move with somebody, which is what he's kind of talking about. But also the feeling of your own body. It's hard to explain unless you do martial arts. It's one of the things. It's not easy to explain because the embodiment of the moves, like you're feeling these moves and it's you doing them and you're in your body when you're doing it. It's almost like a surprise, but a spectacular surprise that you own. Does that make, I don't know how else to explain that, but that's really what it feels like. And even the higher you go, it's really cool because you get to accidentally, on purpose, create. If that makes sense. That's the feeling. It's like you're accidentally creating on purpose. And there's a direction to your accidental creation, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's a little bit further along, but yeah, that's really good. And so what has driven you to stay and continue when things get hard?
That's a good question, sir.
Well, let me preface it with this, actually. So Mr. Starr has been training with me for a long time. Let's see, since
I was 8 years old.
yeah, he was 8,
So
and now he's like 21, almost at 22.
Not yet.
So
Don't make me older than
he's been training for a while, for a long time. He's a second degree black belt in our system. Actually, I'm hoping he'll go for third here soon. Even if that ends up, he's also leaving to go overseas, and even if that ends up me going overseas to train him, or him coming over here to test, that'd be fine. but he's been doing it for a long, long time. And so I just wanted to preface it with that. But what's the most kind of one of the more challenging things that you've had to deal with?
Ooh, one of the more challenging things, there's really been two things. One is my physical issues. Out of all of my brothers who also done martial arts, and just in general, I've had a lot more physical issues. I've, for years at a time, I'm at the doctor every single week, stuff like that. And some of those issues have impaired my ability to do certain moves. And that's been physically one of the hardest things that I've had to overcome, is just dealing with all of that and still doing what I'm expected to do. And learning how to safely push past the pain. And work through those issues that I have. I'm honestly a lot better now than I was a few years ago, especially like with my wrists and stuff. And then I think mentally, just being a teacher as well, the stress of having to teach students, which I love teaching, and I've loved all of my students. But just the stress of trying to manage a bunch of kids and then think about my own training at the same time has been quite difficult, especially working, or when I was in school still, and having to work already during the week. Not to mention any other interests I have. So I think just like managing everything and then managing all the kids, and then, when something bad would happen in class, maybe one of them would have a bad day, the way I am, that affected me for the rest of the week because I'm thinking about that too, because, I care. But I think deciding to keep going after that, even though I'm not teaching anymore, I simply do not have the time to teach anymore. I don't have the capacity to do that at this point in my life, and especially because I'm gearing up to move. That doesn't work for me anymore at this stage of life.
Right.
Next stage of life, we'll see when I'm more settled. Who knows what I'll be doing. But I decided to keep pursuing my training. And I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to, I love it. I can't help that I love it. Even if I want to stop, I still think about it. Anytime I've considered, maybe I'll just stop, then I think about, my black belt test and how that was physically one of the hardest things I ever did. And I'm like, well, something kept me going through all of that. And like, this situation really isn't as hard as that. But any other time I've wanted to quit, even if I do quit for, quit for like a day or so, I'm like, I think I'll stop. I don't stop because it's just such a part of my life. I just naturally do these moves and stuff. Not like in a, and not like I'm fighting people, but maybe I drop something and I react really fast and think. I was a really, really clumsy person before I started. And now I'm still clumsy, but I don't hurt myself anymore. And I think, I probably need this. And I know I love it.
That's a good point. It's another hard thing to explain to people is that you get skills that you can use every day. And a lot of times you use them and you don't even know you're using them, but sometimes you do. Like for instance, I'll tell a story about one time I was working in a shop. This is over 20 years ago at this point. But I was working in a shop, and my boss was trying to play a prank on me. And he saw me, I was sitting at the computer working, and I have one doorway right here, and it was about 4 or 5 feet away from where I was sitting down on the computer. There's no doorway over here. There's only one doorway on this side. And so he pokes his head up right there. I'm just looking at the computer, but I see him because of my training. I always see out of the sides of my eyes. So I see him, but I'm not paying him any attention because he's not calling me or anything. He's just trying to sneak. I see him peek his head out and he looks at me. And so I'm typing, doing my work, blah, 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 whatever. And then for some reason, he takes a pencil and he throws it at me. And I'm typing and I catch the pencil without looking and I set it down and I continue to work. And I see him go like that. And so that's one of the things that your training just happens. It helps with a lot of different things, and you don't even realize it until you're in a situation where you're like, wow. So that's what's really cool about it anyway. But anyway, yes, so we'll do one more thing and then we got to get started. I've got another class. So we've been talking about the follow the lead, our basic real basic or foundational, I guess, concept, if you want to say it like that. So the following lead concept, I wanted to get your thoughts on that. So when we talk about following lead, we know you can use it in leadership, but you can also use it verbally, you can also use it physically, especially you can use it in self-defense. It's all the same, right? So
Follow the lead.
follow the lead, yes.
Follow the lead. Well, I once heard that every great leader is really just a great follower. And I think that's really true, that if you want to be able to show people the way, you have to know the way yourself, and someone had to take you through that. Even if you are pioneering something new, there's still a bunch of influences that have led you to that
Correct.
point.
That's right.
So I would say that the first part of leading something is following it. And whether that's, physically, through martial arts, or that's spiritually, or, all sorts of stuff, or like in a relationship.
Right.
When it comes to the martial arts aspects, I think it's a really fascinating concept, because if you're, I guess, in a fight, or if you are being attacked or something, I think your initial instinct, your panic instinct, is to either fight or flight, and you want to control the situation. But learning that you can't really control the situation, you can't manipulate every part of it.
Right.
You can only react to it. And so, in a way, you have to let the situation lead. But how you choose to follow it will change the outcome. Now, you can't change the fact that you're being attacked. Like, you can really hope, I hope this fist doesn't hit my face. You can hope that, but you can't just change it by wanting it to
By
change.
willing, correct.
By willing it to change. That's a better word. But you can change how you follow up on that. And that obviously applies to all the other situations we have in our lives. If something at work is not going well, there's a terrible situation at work, and you're not, you don't like this, or you're having issues with a relationship with someone. How you choose to react is usually more important than what the situation is presenting itself as. Because how you react is pretty much the only part that you can directly influence. I've had situations like with my fiance, which have been difficult situations, or having to address things with each other. Right. But learning to respond humbly and let that conversation follow whatever she needs to say to me.
Yep.
Instead of just trying to take control of the situation. Well, actually, no, I'm justified because
Yeah.
I did all
There you
this.
go.
Well, you see, you don't understand.
Right.
Or just instead learning to follow what she's saying, just humbly take it all. Be like, okay, yeah, all right, well, that's what I need to work on then. Even if I can justify it, do I need to? Probably not.
And that's a good point, because I like to use the word surrender, even though some people don't. The way we mean surrender doesn't mean completely give up and lay flat and go like this. That I think that's what a lot of people think the word surrender means, but it actually means to relax yourself and allow the situation, be realistic in the situation. In other words, just allow the situation to unfold so you know where to go. Because that's how you lead, is you pay attention, you listen, you're aware of the reality of the situation, what's actually happening in front of you. Then you can actually, that gives you the ability to lead after that. But you can't lead until you receive, follow, and then pay attention, take it all in, and then you can go, if that makes sense. So you kind of have to surrender. It's kind of along the same lines of what he said. You have to surrender to the situation. You can't will it to stop. You have to acknowledge that it's real, and then from that point, you can understand what needs to be the next step, right? And as far as like speaking and relational, that's pretty easy to think. But in martial arts or in a physical altercation, you have to do that automatically. That's where your training comes in. And it's the same thing though. It's best to verbally practice and learn how to do those things verbally, so that when you come into a situation where someone's upset or mad, you can calm them down by seeing their point of view or what's right about what they're trying to do, or trying to find out why they're feeling this way. If that makes sense. And so, anyway, that's pretty good. All of that to me is martial arts. All of that is martial arts training, because it all works together. It's all different sides of the same thing. I was about to say same sphere, just different sides of it. So, anyway, that's good. So we'll stop today with that. All right, so we'll see you guys on the next video or whatever.